I'm getting distracted because Boots is literally sitting right here and he's like watching me on the screen. Look at him. Isn't he so sweet? Hi, hey, welcome. I'm a goth and I read a lot, and today we are doing the dreaded monthly wrap up. I say the dreaded because I kind of hate doing these, not because I like how they turn out, but I don't like how long I have to sit here. So, in August is the month we're doing? Yes, August. I read 17 books and we're going to talk about them. Some of them were in vlogs, so if you want to hear more about some of them, I'll let you know when they're in a vlog and you can go. Oh, Boots is very enraptured with the screen on my phone. He's really invested. Can you see his ear? So, starting off. So, 17 books. We're going to yap about all of them. Sit down, grab a drink, grab a snack, get situated. Let's chat. Okay? The first book that I read was The Crash by Freida McFadden. This book I read as an audiobook and I was reading it like for a week. Like it took a really long time. I usually finish audiobooks really fast because I just play video games while I read them. This one took a long time. And The Crash basically, oh, Boots just touched the camera. Oh no. Oh no. We're being taken. Mr. Boots. He's grabbing my tripod. Let go, please. You're hurting them. Biting my tripod. Wait, what? Oh my god. Okay, Boots, stop. We might have to banish him. Sorry about that. He was biting my mic, he was biting my phone, he was biting my tripod. I've never seen anything like it. He's looking out the window now. The Crash. The Crash, basically, it's about this woman and she's pregnant. She's like almost due. And she is driving in a snowstorm from New York City to somewhere in New York State to see her brother so that he can like take care of her because she's a single mom. So she's driving to her brother's house so he can take care of her. And she gets in a car crash. Okay. She's saved. Things happen from there. Mainly she gets trapped somewhere. I'll say that. That's all I'll say. This book was really frustrating. Like it was engaging and interesting, but like it was so frustrating because it was a lot of push and pull. Like it was a lot of like the same thing, the same conversations happening over and over again and the same emotions happening over and over again. Like it just got a little old. Halfway through the book I was like, can we wrap this up? You know what I mean? But I did enjoy it and I liked the ending and I liked like the overall themes of the story and like the characters. I found the characters to be really, really interesting. I think one thing that Freida McFadden does really well is makes really, really good characters. They're not necessarily realistic, but they're very distinct and they're very interesting. And so I think she did that really well in this book, and I think it paid off because I feel like that was my favorite part of the book. So, not much else to say. It was a good read. It wasn't as quick and like fast paced as some of her other books. It was still fast paced, but it wasn't as like quick. I don't know how to explain it. But yeah, that was The Crash. I would recommend it if you like Freida McFadden. It's not the first one I would like get you to read though. Then I read another I was on a Freida McFadden grind at the beginning of this month. So I read The Tenant next. This one, I don't even know. This one is about a guy who he like just got a promotion. He's on top of the world. He's engaged to his girlfriend. You know, everything's going great. And then he gets fired, and one thing leads to another. They can't afford their rent in their New York City apartment. All our books take place in New York City. I don't know what's going on. So they get a tenant. Things happen. I don't know. It carries on from there, and it was a very weirdly formatted story. Like it wasn't the traditional like thriller like build up and reveal, build up and reveal, you know. It was very much like a mystery the first 75%, and then it got very thrilling. With that being said, I feel like I can say the same things that I said about The Crash about this one. It was fun, it was quick, the characters were really interesting, I liked the dynamics, I liked the themes. It was just a little flat for me. It just fell a little flat and I was bored a little bit of the time. But I did finish this one a lot faster. I think I would say I like this one more than The Crash. It's very funny and that's all really I have to say about it. It's not really like I'd say it's a good one to pick if you want like a taste of her writing, but it's not really like I've read better books by her, I guess. So pretty mid. We're starting off pretty mid. Then I read this is the last Freida McFadden book, I promise. Then I read Ward D, and this one was one that I was actually avoiding for a really long time because I knew that it was about someone being stuck in a mental institution, and I personally, as someone who is very mentally ill, don't really like reading horror or like creepy thrilling books that take place in like a psych ward, and like the scary part is like these people are crazy, you never know what they're gonna do, you know, like I just don't really like that because I find it quite dehumanizing and usually quite unrealistic. Like people with just like, I don't know, bipolar will suddenly become like raging murderers, and it's like, okay, I'm sure that's happened at some point in life, but people with bipolar are murderers, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, maybe I'm being too woke. No, I'm not being too woke. Actually, I take that back. I stand firm on this. Yeah, I just don't like that kind of horror. Like, I find often it's very unrealistic. I find honestly, when it comes down between like between horror books with like scary, crazy people and dark romances with like psychopaths, dark romances have better representation of people with personality disorders, as better representation overall. And that's something that I stand by. Anyway, this book wasn't actually quite how I expected it, so I'm glad that I read it because it was a pretty quick, fun time. I read it in a day. Basically, it's about this med student. I don't know if this is like how it actually works, but like she has to like cycle through shifts in different wards in the hospital, cycling through all these places to see like which field in medicine she wants to go into. So she's like shadowing this psychiatrist. She has to spend the night in this locked in this locked psych ward, like interview the patients and take notes and just like learn. But she kind of quickly realizes that like there's some shifty things going on in the management of the ward, and there's like some kind of mysteries between patients, and there's also someone she knows on the ward that she's like, I do not want to see her. And so all that together, crazy stuff happens, blah 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 blah. It was really short. I will say this was the most out of all her books that was like the most like a classic thriller. Like it had all these winding plots. One thing was always leading into another, and it packed a punch. Like there was always like, what about this? And then there was this, and then there was that. Like we as the reader never knew what was going on, and it was very unexpected, and it was very quick. There was a lot of twists. So I enjoyed that aspect of it because that's my favorite kind of thriller, the kind that's like constantly surprising you and constantly changing what you thought you knew about the story. But with that being said, it was very unhinged, and I found the theatrics of it all to be a little, what's the word? Like I found it was so far-fetched and so crazy that I was just kind of getting tired of it. I did really enjoy it. Like I think it had the good twists. If you want like a quick, fast pace, are you kidding me right now? Boots is laying down now. We're gonna see how this goes because he really likes to chew on my tripod now, apparently. So I don't know how this is gonna go, but he's right here. He's watching. He's here for the reviews. He's a big fan. Then we're getting into some books that I read in my monster romance reading vlog. So that was like 2 videos ago. Go check that out if you want like full reactions, full reviews, more in-depth dialogue. But I'm gonna flip through these pretty quick because we have a lot of books to get through. So the first one that I read was Tentacle Entanglement. This book was basically just smut. It had a plot, but the plot was just so that there could be more smut. Tentacle Entanglement, what was the actual plot? This woman, her friend gives her like a link to this like guided meditation ASMR on YouTube that's like, find your dream soulmate, manifest your dream man. And so she does it, and she falls asleep. And then when she wakes up, there's a tentacle monster in her house. Boots, please don't. Please don't, Boots. He's gonna go for it. I know he is. Boots. Oh my god, Boots. He's being silly. I'm just gonna keep moving the camera in accordance to Boots's moods because I don't want to kick him off my bed. That would be blasphemy. But he's, causing a bit of a ruckus. Everybody say, hi, Boots. There are his boots. Those are his boots. He's the best. He's the best little kitty around, and he just wants to be part of the video. So I'm just gonna let him be a part of the video. So anyway, Tentacle Entanglement. That's basically the entire plot. Like there's literally nothing else going on. Like there's a little bit going on. Like the tentacle monster is from like this like other planet, and he has to eat people to stay on Earth and like hold a human form. It was funny. It was unhinged. It was something I would not read again. If you're looking for books that are just smut, if you're looking for books that are just monster smut, there are better books, I will tell you. And there are better books that we're going to talk about, so don't worry. But yeah, it was just, I wouldn't have read this if not for the video. I don't even really have anything critical to say because there's just nothing to it. Like I can't fault it for being exactly what I thought it was going to be. That was that. If you want more in-depth thoughts, go to the video. Then we read The Gargoyle's Captive. This book is part of a series of interconnected standalones, and I ended up reading more of those. This one was definitely my favorite of the 3 that I've read, but there is a close second. These are very spicy, very sweet, romantasy, monster romance type vibes. This one, basically all of them, there's this bargainer demon, and he gathers a group of human women and auctions them off to the different like rulers of the different areas in the demon realm. There's like different kingdoms in the demon realm. There's like dragons, gargoyles, there's selkies, and then there's like all these different things. So he auctions off these 4 women and to these demons. Each book follows a different couple. So this one is Grace and Brom the gargoyle, and it was so sweet, guys. Like, I know this might not sound like the best plot. I don't know, maybe it does. To me it sounds good, but I loved this. Like, genuinely loved it way more than I thought I was going to. I was expecting just like a really spicy time, and it was pretty spicy, but like there was so much emotion, and there was so much like, sorry, Boots is moving again. There was so much emotion, and there was so much like these characters. Like, my favorite thing about this series is the characters. Like, they're so fleshed out, and they have such vivid like desires and dreams and hopes and fears. This one specifically was a lot about like insecurities and like confronting your insecurities through another person because they're similar to you, and the dynamic between the 2 characters was just really beautiful, and I really loved their romance. They had really good chemistry. It was just so sweet and honestly magical, even though it's in a demon realm, so you might think it's more like dark and gritty, and it did have that darkness to it, but it was also very like wholesome, and just it had the vibe of a fairy tale, like an R-rated fairy tale. And it was just so sweet, and I really recommend this if you're a romantasy lover. If you want a short novella, it's not like too out there of a monster romance that you'll be uncomfortable if you don't read monster romance. If you're a romantasy reader, I don't even know how to pitch it. Just read it. Like, please read it so I can talk to someone about it. I loved it so much. Then I read Edin, and this was also in the monster romance log. This is book 2 in the Monstrous series, which I read Soul Eater last month, which I talked about that in my last wrap up, so go watch that if you want to hear about Soul Eater. Basically, this book exists in a universe. It's like this dystopian America where monsters were unleashed from a different dimension. They were unleashed on the world, and the government, in an attempt to destroy them, like destroyed the world. It's very post-apocalyptic. It's very like desolate landscape. There's all these different dangerous creatures. Humans are barely surviving. Like, there's not a lot going on. And we follow, oh my god, what was his name? Hunter. That was his name. So we follow Hunter, who is a soldier, and him and his partner, like best friend, they're like a little bestie duo. They're walking in the wastes, which is like the abandoned parts of his friend Garrett gets kidnapped by these monsters, these little creatures, and in an attempt to save him, Hunter falls in a hole. And who saves him from the hole? This giant purple monster guy named Edin. And he's like, I'm gonna help you save your friend. So they form an unlikely duo to try and save his friend, okay? And obviously they fall in love. Shocker. I liked this. I don't know if I liked it. I don't know how I feel about this series as a whole. Like, I'm still like undecided because I really like them, and I really have a good time reading them, and I find they're well written, they're well paced. I really like the universe that we're in. I always like learning about all the different monsters. I enjoy my time, right? When I'm done, I always just like towards the end of the book, usually when the characters get together, I start to lose interest and find it a little bit cringe. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about the spice in these books, but I find them a little cringe. I don't know if it's the dirty talk. I don't know what it is, but I just always get icked out a little bit. It's not like there's too much of it. It's just like I don't like the way it's written. I don't know what it is. I genuinely can't tell you, but I do recommend these if you want queer romance, if you want queer monster romance, if you like dystopian worlds and creatures, and it's very dark, it's very gritty, it's very, yeah. I would definitely recommend it so far. There's like 7 books. So if you want something like a series that's going to give you a lot of books to work on, I don't think any of them are very long. Like, they're just a good time. I always start them thinking I'm going to like love them, and then I'm a little bit disappointed by them towards the end. I don't know what it is. I don't know. The characters are also something that I struggle with in this series. Like, I found this with Soul Eater as well, that like I like the characters, but their flaws are so glaring that honestly it makes me like the characters less, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm very undecided about this series. Let me know if you've read it. I did have someone comment in my last wrap up that they had read it and that they really liked Moth, I think, which I don't know if that's the next one, but I definitely think I'm going to continue so far, but I still am like just on the fence about how I feel about it. Next, I read my first 5-star in a really long time. I don't usually rate books. Let me know if you want me to start rating books. I used to rate every single book that I read, but these days I have a really hard time rating books. I think it's because I read so much and I talk about them so much on camera that I end up like kind of getting a little mixed up and I always change my mind. So I think I am going to start trying to rate books more because I feel like that would give you guys a better idea of like how I feel about them. I rated 5 stars because I loved it so much. And that is Blasphemy by Erin Lebold. This is a book that I got on Godless, which is like an indie horror website. This book blew my mind, like genuinely blew my mind. It basically follows this ex-con and he's fresh out of prison, or I believe he's still in prison in the beginning of the book. And he used to be in this organized crime situation. He used to work for these people, but he doesn't really want to go back. He wants to go straight and he wants to try like an honest life. His wife left him for another man before he went back behind bars. Sorry. Oh my God. I'm just gonna keep talking even though he's in the way. I'm so sorry. So his wife left him, got sent back to prison. He's getting out now. He doesn't want to go back to the crime life. He's been going to church in the prison, and at church, this one guy is like, I can get you a job on the outside working for the Catholic Church. And he's like, is there anything like suspicious about it? Like, is this a shifty job? Is this a normal job? And he's like, just trust me. So he gets out of prison, gets picked up by the church and starts working for them and finds out a lot of secrets about how the church is run, the things that they do, business that they move under. It's a lot of talk about the corruption in religion. Can anyone really be saved? Is religion even real? Is religion valid? And, like who is really the real bad guys? Is it the people who are doing the bad things, or is it the people that are bad enough, angry enough to do bad things to stop them? This book was amazing. There are so many lines that I saved and bookmarked and highlighted and took pictures of. I loved this book so much. The way it was written, it was so beautiful. The characters, especially our main character, I found myself really rooting for him and really wanting him to succeed and really just admiring him even though he was doing horrible things and making mistakes. I just really rooted for him, and I loved the messages in this book and conversations it stirred up. It had me thinking a lot about my own stances on religion. It was just beautifully done. It was eerie, it was dark, it was, intense. It had a perfect circular ending, and I cannot recommend it enough. Genuinely, go buy this book on Godless. It's like $2. A lot of that portion goes to supporting the author. I really, really believe in this book. Like, genuinely, it was so amazing. So, really go check it out if you like horror, if you like religious horror, really check it out. It's amazing. Now we're back to the Deal with the Demon books. This is The Dragon's Bride. This one is a very close second in my favorites. Not quite as good as The Gargoyle's Captive, but this one was really amazing. So we follow Briar, who gets married to a dragon. And so this is like a true monster romance. But again, it has all the same qualities in The Gargoyle's Captive. It's just, I think, a lot more smutty and a lot more heavy on like the monster in the monster romance. He's literally a dragon. So I really liked this. It was very, very romantic. Just beautifully done. Like there's a lot of talk on like healing and trauma. I just love the way this series like deals with the emotions and the fears and the past traumas of the characters in it and like how they heal each other through their relationships. Yeah, I just really loved this one. Again, really recommend the series. I also read The Kraken's Sacrifice. Again, this one was really great. It had all the same qualities that I love about the other two, but I will say I really didn't love this one as much. The characters didn't stick with me as much as the other two books. I don't think they were as interesting. I don't think they were as fleshed out. Like there was a lot that I liked about it, but the characters are really what set me off from this book and made me not love it as much. So there's that. Then I read, if you don't know, I also read dark romance. I know I have read fantasy and horror on here so far, but I do read dark romance and I wanted to get into Rina Kent. So I read God of Malice. Now, I just want to say, if you are not a dark romance reader, if you don't like it, totally fine. It's definitely an acquired taste. I'm not trying to shove it down anybody's throats because I know it is. I know it is quite intense of a subject matter, and there's a lot of triggering content. Some people think it's problematic. Listen, I really loved this book. Like, genuinely loved it from the very beginning. I will say, I totally understand why people think this book in particular is problematic. I think it explores themes that are very triggering, and I totally understand not wanting to read about that, not wanting to read any non-con, dub-con scenarios. That's fine. That's normal even. Like, you're the normal one. I think that it's important for books like this to exist uncensored because first of all, I don't believe in the whole like women are reading dark romance and then they're more susceptible to abuse, or like young people are getting their hands on these books. If a teenager is reading God of Malice, that's the parents' fault. That's not Rina Ken's fault. If you cannot separate fiction from reality, don't read books that have rape, murder, abuse, torture. Don't read those things because you're not gonna handle it well. But people that like books with these subjects, there's nothing wrong with that. There really isn't. I think it's a safe way to explore those topics and to understand those topics and to honestly heal past traumas for a lot of people. And so I don't know. I just wanted to give a little spiel because I haven't done a dark romance video in a while and I just wanted to like put my stance out there because I know this book in particular people kind of hate. I don't think there's anything wrong with reading and enjoying a book like this. So that's all I'll say for now. I do want to do a dark romance reading vlog, so if there's any dark romance books you want me to read, let me know. I will get on it. But yeah, I'm definitely going to continue this series. This book was so good. I loved the romance. I loved the two main characters. I really, really loved, I don't even remember his name now. I'm so bad with names. Killian Carson, that's his name. Killian was such an interesting character. I loved learning about him through other characters' perspectives, but also through his own perspectives. I really enjoy like piecing together why he is the way that he is and like who he is as a person. I really liked the development of their relationship. I feel like it was really well paced. I mean the spice. It was a good time. I love this cast of characters so far. I love the college setting. I don't really know how to tell you what this book is about. Like I feel like you should just go in blind, but look up trigger warnings. But I loved this. Like definitely it's gonna be hard to top this one in the Legacy of God series, but I do hear there are a few other ones in this series that I hear people really love. So I'm very excited. Yeah, God of Malice, love. Love, 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 love. Okay. Then I got bored, and someone recommended this on my last wrap up video. So I read Unhinged. um, you may have heard of this. It was kind of viral a little while ago. It's literally a romance between a woman and a door. I'm not even kidding. But someone recommended it on my video, so I was like, I gotta read it. And you know what? It was fun. It was a good time. I have not much to say about it. It was 71 pages. It was a fine book. It was funny. It was silly, but it actually had a plot. It had a lot more depth to it than I was expecting. But again, just spice. Yeah. Now we're getting to a bit of a chaotic period in the month. I started off by the next few books. The next 3 books are in my most recent video, my horror reading vlog, the second one. So if you want more in-depth thoughts, reactions, all that, go to there. But I also read 2 other books in between, getting a little chaotic. So I read Deadbolt. This is a horror short story, and it basically follows, okay, let me try to remember because it was so short. It basically follows this old woman, and she lives in a cabin in the woods, and her husband died a few years ago. She lives a very quiet life, but every night at 10 o'clock someone knocks on her door and it sounds like her husband. Okay, things follow from there. It was very creepy. I really liked the atmosphere. I really liked the way it was written. Like I definitely want to read more books by this author, that like maybe a longer book because I really enjoyed the writing style. I really, it had a, for such a short book, it had a lot of emotion, it had a lot of intensity. It was a really good short story. Like it's definitely one of my favorite horror short stories I've read. But yeah, I really liked that. Then I read We All Rot Eventually. This one was probably my favorite of the vlog. It's like 2005 and it follows this young actress. She's trying to make it big, but she's struggling. She works at a gas station. She's not living the life. Then her boyfriend dies and she gets interviewed, and the interview goes viral. So it doesn't sound like a horror, it definitely doesn't, like I wasn't expecting it to end the way that it did, but like this book just like spoke to me. I don't know. The writing was very like poetic, and like there was a lot of metaphor, there's a lot of simile, it was very flowy and kind of romantic. The subject matter obviously very, very dark. It was a lot about like what someone's willing to do for fame. Like, is it really about your art, or is it about being recognized and being important? And yeah, it was really good. It was just spooky. It was very, very off-putting. If you want a book to read, a short book about someone's descent into madness, there you go. Then I read Woom. This is another one that was in my horror vlog. I don't have much to say about Woom because I still don't know how I feel about it. It was very disgusting, but for a book that was so horrifying and uncomfortable and gross, I actually really liked reading it, and I found that it had a lot of interesting things to say, but I don't know if I would recommend it because it was just so horrifying, like genuinely traumatizing. I definitely think about it a lot, but not necessarily in a good way. So if you want more thoughts, it's in the vlog. Then I was on a kick where I was trying to finish a few books that I had put down. So I read Fire and Ice, which is the second book in the first ever Warrior Cat series. So this, I know, curveball. This is crazy. But I was actually doing a video. I was planning on doing a video where I read these books. I'm not going to reveal what the video was because I might still do the video in the future. But this time around, it fell through and I didn't get to do the video. So I was just in the middle of this book from when I was filming and I decided to finish it. So not much to say. It's a kid's book. It's sweet. It's cute. Love it. Okay. Then I finished The Sleep Experiment, which I was in the middle of. Like, I read like half of it a month ago, so I just finished it. I hated this book. I hated it. I'm so disappointed by this book because it's based on the Russian sleep experiment, which is a creepypasta, like urban legend type thing. It's basically about like depriving people from sleep with this gas that's like this stimulant gas that keeps you awake. And it's an experiment to see like what happens and how long they can stay awake, how long they can live without needing sleep. So very interesting, right? This book was so poorly written. Every character was a racial stereotype to a T, and like the narration would be like there was a so it's like a university professor that's conducting the study, and he has this Korean student. I think she was Korean. Yeah, she was Korean. And this Indian student that both emigrated to America to go to school. And sometimes it would talk about them and it would be like the Indian walked up to the professor. And it's like the Indian? Like just say his name. Like it was so weird. All the characters were stereotypes, even if they weren't like even if they were white, they were a stereotype. They were all poorly written. There was no foreshadowing, there was no build up. Things just took a turn in like the course of a sentence and then it just all fell apart. It wasn't scary, it wasn't gross, it was just so poorly done. There was nothing I liked about it and it made me mad. Like it wasn't even just it wasn't a good book, it wasn't interesting, whatever. It made me mad. Like it bothered me. It didn't like I don't even want to talk about it anymore. It was just don't recommend. But then we're back to the rest of the books that I read in the horror vlog. I read Summer Never Ends. Again, I'm going to go through these last three really quick. I'm going to try to be as quick as possible because I've been sitting here for almost an hour. Summer Never Ends. If you want a quick summer slasher, this is great. It's just a bunch of kids at Bible camp. They get murdered. That's basically it. It's a good time. Love Judith Sonnet's writing. Good gore. Good time. Okay. Then I read Cursed by Lee Kenny. Hated this. Actually, I didn't hate it, but I just really didn't like it. I don't think it was an interesting story. I don't think it was a story that needed to be told. I don't think it was really doing anything. It's a ghost story. Man gets haunted by a creepy object. That's basically it. It was very predictable. It was very one-dimensional. Not even two-dimensional, just one-dimensional. I would have DNF'd it if I didn't need to read it for a video. Then I read The Hanging Man. Same thing. Didn't like it. The writing was very unpolished, amateur. I found a lot of mistakes. I'm just not a fan. It was less that it was like a bad story and more that I just didn't think it was anything profound. I was also too wholesome to be like a horror book. You know, I don't know. Anyway, those are all the books that I read in August. I can't believe we're finally done. If you sat through the end, comment a sun emoji because it's the last month of summer. It's now fall. We're getting into the spooky season. Thank you for watching. Let me know what you read, if you read any of these books, what you think. I don't know. New videos every few days. Subscribe. Definitely subscribe. If you watch this whole video, you should subscribe. Like at this point, like, oh my god, through reads a lot. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for being a friend. See you next time.